Your boss does not get to dictate what you spend your paycheck on. Whether spent on groceries, donated to orphans, or splurged on video games, your boss really doesn't have the right to make sure you're spending your money in accordance with their beliefs. So health benefits are part of this compensation for your labor. So why then should your boss get to decide what you do with this compensation? The Supreme Court's recent ruling that private companies like Hobby Lobby should not be required to cover contraception under the Affordable Health Care Act is unethical. Religious freedom is one of the many beautiful things that make America a home of the free. Freedom of religion, however, does not mean one has the freedom to impose a faith on another. Businesses certainly have the right to identify with a specific religion, but their employees should not be forced to follow those religious beliefs verbatim. To claim otherwise in the name of religious freedom is a complete fallacy and is offensive to the very idea of religious freedom. Reporter Jerome Sokolovsky covered the recent Supreme Court ruling on Voice of America News. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that bosses of privately owned companies may object on religious grounds to a provision of President Barack Obama's signature healthcare laws that would have otherwise compelled them to provide birth control free of charge as part of coverage plans. So the Supreme Court has placed the religious views of corporate businesses over their employees' legitimate health concerns. Many women use contraception for economic reasons, needing it in order to keep a job or just because they may not be able to financially support a child at the time. So as a woman, I value birth control as a form of healthcare, and I feel that it is wrong for companies to refuse to cover it because of personal beliefs. Freedom of political, religious, and moral thought are essential to the progress of our civilized country. And if people are going to choose to be promiscuous or immoral in their sex relations, then they should at least be able to prevent unplanned offspring and disease. So there have been many recent situations where this issue has been a growing concern. Much socioeconomic improvement has been evident since the approval of the first oral contraceptive by the FDA in 1960. As noted by author of The Pill and Partnership, F. Christensen. So recently, Hobby Lobby and the Mandel stores challenged the law requiring employees to provide health insurance coverage for contraceptives. The U.S. Supreme Court decided that privately owned companies are not required to include birth control under coverage plans. This recent ruling is pretty much taking freedom of religion into consideration, but not freedom from religion. So there are several social and economic benefits of women's ability to use reliable and responsible contraception in order to plan whether and if they want to have children. This freedom of choice unlocks opportunities for economic success, education, and equality for women. Authors of Use of Contraception in the U.S., Mosher and Jones, claim that about half of all pregnancies each year, that being 3.2 million, are unintended. So almost 750,000 teenagers aged 15 to 19 become pregnant each year, and almost all of them are unintended. So studies have shown that teen pregnancy interferes with young women's ability to finish high school and also their enrolling in higher education. Contraception can also help families break cycles of poverty and government dependency. So there is much that can be done in implementing programs and policies that will advance contraception access, allowing women to achieve their life goals by giving them the choice of when to become mothers. Hobby Lobby and other religious-affiliated companies recently challenged the requirement to cover contraception under the healthcare grounds, or under their healthcare on the grounds of religious freedom. So on June 30th of 2014, the Supreme Court ruled in the Burwell versus Hobby Lobby case that the Affordable Health Care Act cannot compel closely held companies to provide insurance coverage that would give women low-cost birth control if doing so violated their religious beliefs. The court held on a 5-4 vote that retained that companies could seek an exemption from this mandatory coverage. So private business owners can now refuse to cover contraception for workers. On the same Voice of America News report, the Supreme Court had to consider two tricky legal questions. One being whether for-profit corporations have a right to religious freedom, similar to what the Constitution grants to its citizens. The other was, even if that is the case, whether business owners' religious rights come before those of their employees. The decision means employees may have to obtain birth control from other sources. The Voice of America News report declared that the Obama administration responded by saying that this ruling jeopardizes the health of women. Wolf, author of article on U.S. Today, quoted Reverend Barry Lynn, executive director of America United for the Separation of Church and State, saying, "This allows some companies in America already to nullify, to just wipe out federal law that protects women, religious minorities, and those who do not have power." So this denial could seriously impact minority faiths and women. It is unethical for employers to deny employees contraception healthcare coverage. While conservatives have cast the battle as one of religious freedom, the general public has seen it as a pitfall for personal health choices. In my eyes, it is not the employer's position or their right to dictate what their employees choose to do with their compensation. So why can't women choose individually if they want to take advantage of the contraceptive paid by their employer? The lines between church and state are being blurred in a way that is becoming very detrimental to many women of this country. Thank you.